He is the chairman of Ericsson, Leif Johansson. Thank you very much for joining us today as we wrap up. Boao, I assume you probably had very good discussions. The backdrop against this is the troubles in Europe, troubles in the United States, a slowing Chinese economy. From the position of being the chairman of the world's largest telecommunications equipment maker, what is the state of the global economy?
Well, I think we've certainly been through a very difficult period, both in the U.S. and in Western Europe. I frankly think that the U.S. economy is beginning to bounce back, and I think we've seen steadily improvement there. A little more uncertain on Europe, but I think also there, if you compare half a year ago, we have a more stable situation, and I think beginning to sort out the difficulty. So hopefully we have the worst behind us in the U.S. and in Western Europe. Then I think we have here in Asia, we have a slowing growth, but still very attractive growth rates. You know, if you're talking 7 to 8% here in China, that's certainly not anything to be negative about. So I think that's good in itself.
It's the world's largest mobile phone market. How much more room is there to grow, especially when you're up against a really tough domestic competitor whose annual revenues are creeping up almost equal to Ericsson's? Huawei.
Well, I think that there is good room for growth. And of course, the real growth comes with the fact that subscribers are using phones in many, many different ways, and sometimes even ways they hadn't anticipated from the beginning. And you see the introduction of all of the apps in the different smartphones. You see the growth of smartphones. In this country, in China, it can develop much more than it actually has. But we see all over the world also a focus on mobile broadband. And the combination of that, plus all the new uses that subscribers have, of course, really means that there is a growth of traffic in the networks.
Now, I must add that you're in a quiet period. You cannot talk about specific revenue growth or numbers. But given the spending that a lot of the carriers have had, say, last year, and the revenue growth that you did have last year, where are we now in the overcapacity, undercapacity situation with the carriers?
Well, I think we had a very good growth rate last year all over the world. And I think we are in a situation now where we are in between two different technologies. And we are looking at the underlying growth rates in the networks as very strong. And of course, the issue is going to be how does that play out with the new technologies now being introduced in the form of LTE networks. But all in all, you can say the underlying demand for network capacity will be there, is there.
How are the buying trends from the Chinese carriers in particular, as China Mobile's building out its own TDS, CDMA, the other networks do have wideband CDMA. Are you getting a sense that they are still going to be growing and buying your equipment?
I think my sense from meeting with customers here and not being too specific then is actually that there is an underlying demand of growth in traffic networks, especially in this country with the focus on mobile broadband developing. And I see that as a positive trend.
What are you going to be doing with the joint venture with the Chinese partners? I believe it's Guangdong North Telecommunications. Do you have specific plans for that?
Well, no changes that we can announce today. But we certainly are happy with the Chinese partners that we have and the development that we have going there.
Are you looking at M&A opportunities here in China?
Nothing specific and nothing that I would announce to you this morning either. But we are always, and as you have seen us do in the past, we have grown very well internally and organically, and we have also taken the opportunity to do acquisitions when the right acquisitions come up.
How level is the playing field here? Let's be honest. Huawei is the domestic challenger here. I mentioned about their revenues, I believe $32 billion in revenue, U.S. in 2011. Ericsson, $34.5 billion. They are definitely on par on the revenue base. How level is the playing field here? Well, you're getting a fair shake here?
As you're well aware, different countries have different approaches to the telecom industry. And I think in general you can say, instead of comparing countries between what they are, I think we as Ericsson want to play the country that we are in the most appropriate way. And we are doing that in the U.S., we're doing that in Europe, and we're doing that here.
Would you be looking at possibly divesting your share of the chipmaker, ST Ericsson, if a buyer could be found? And if a Chinese buyer could be found? Would you be open to that?
Well, those are hypothetical questions. No, I would say we have a good joint venture in ST Ericsson. Certainly we've had some problems, as you've seen there. But we think of it as an opportunity to get it going and get it configured in the right way.
You're holding on to it for now. All right. Leif Johansson, thank you very much. The chairman of Ericsson.